Yo, what is up, guys? XRP is at $1.09 right now in CoinMarketCap. Our first tweet comes from Bank XRP. For the Clarity Act to advance, an ethics agreement is the key to unlocking the rest of the negotiations, Eleanor Terrett reports. If we can get ethics, the rest of the bill will come together, according to industry participants. Our next tweet comes from Christine Lagarde. I welcome today's vote by the Europol EN to make sure that the euro, both in cash and digital form, is accepted everywhere in the euro area. Let's watch this video.
So the European Parliament has just voted to make sure that the euro, both in cash and in digital form, will be accepted everywhere in the euro area. What comes next? The European Parliament, the European Council, and the European Commission are going to work together to come out with a final version that will apply across the board. Once that happens, the trilogue, as it's called, is over and satisfactory, then we, at the European Central Bank, we will get started with rolling out all the technical work, the testing, the piloting, so that as soon as we can, and as soon as it is technically solid, valid, and safe, we will be able to launch the digital euro, as well, of course, as cash, coins, and banknotes. They will complement each other.
Smash that subscribe button and hit that like button if you believe XRP will reach $3 again this year. Our next tweet comes from Ripple Zitty. Just then, Japan leads the world in XRP adoption. Our next tweet comes from Franklin Templeton Digital Assets. When we realized blockchain could enable settlement in seconds, not weeks, everyone was surprised, even the regulators. Sandy Call recalls the early days of building on-chain at Franklin Templeton on the Block by Block podcast with Danelle Dixon, CEO of Stellar.org. Let's watch this video.
Well, today, if I wanted to transfer my mutual fund shares to you, that would be a paper-based request, and it would take me about 3 to 4 weeks to get that happening. Right, we can do this within seconds, and the SEC was very worried, and they're like, "Well, what's going to happen? You can't just move securities around like that. You can't just transfer them like that." And we're like, "The name of what we do is the transfer agency. How can you tell us we can't transfer when we're a transfer agent?" And even they realized, yeah, I guess this sounds a little silly, but they had never encountered this as a possibility before. And it raised a lot of concerns.
Our next tweet comes from Crypto Barbie. Big news, CFTC Chairman Mike Seelig declared that under President Trump's leadership, the United States will never allow a CBDC. Let's watch this video.
I'm very concerned about central bank digital currencies, and we in the Trump administration have been very clear that that's not going to happen under our watch. We have put out an executive order. The president actually put this out just a week into office, I think on the 25th of January last year, prohibiting central bank digital currencies. And we put out a report that I was part of on the president's working group on digital assets that specifically states that it is a policy of this administration to prevent a central bank digital currency from coming to fruition. But of course, the prior administration was pushing that, and we had to withdraw some of their actions on them.
Is there anybody?
Our next tweet comes from Crypto Barbie. Massive XRP sees triple adoption boost as tokenized assets reach $4 billion. Our next tweet comes from Smoke DQG. Swift, we are moving away from messaging to orchestrated transactions. Swift is just messaging, not for much longer. Listen closely. Let's watch this video.
At Swift, the changes actually create opportunities, and we've just restruck a new strategy for the company. And really, the vision is to move from what we've done very well for decades and move from secure messaging to centralized orchestrated transactions. And that's really what we think is the best way to work with our community and to address some of these challenges. So we think that with this new transaction orchestration model that we have, we can accommodate in a very agile way new workflows, new forms of money, whether that's e-money or central bank digital currencies, for example. And we think ultimately this is the best way for us to execute our strategy, which is to really, again, move from sequential messaging into orchestrated transactions and all the way through end-to-end account settlement. So this is actually a fascinating time for us. We think there's a lot we can do for our customers, and we think there's a lot we can do to help our customers with their customers with this approach and with this strategy.
Let me stay with you first.
Our next tweet comes from Crypto Barbie. Breaking, the SEC just released its regulatory agenda for 2026. We will ensure that the next chapter of financial leadership is written in the US. Our next tweet comes from the Crypto Squire. Clarity update: Senator Kevin Cramer says the Clarity Act should advance before August 7, highlighting growing bipartisan momentum as lawmakers continue working toward digital asset legislation. The finish line may be closer than ever. Let's watch this video.
Well, it does. The Clarity Act is a little, we did pass it out of the committee, as you know, out of the banking committee with Democratic votes, but even the Democrats that voted for it in committee won't vote for it on the floor unless a couple of things are straightened out, one of them being some of the ethics language, which I think, by the way, Democrats are insisting on simply because Donald Trump's the president.
Right.
And because he's successful at business, which is bizarre to me. I mean, if we punished every president who was successful at something and said they can't legislate, if they're a farmer like Jimmy Carter, they can't sign a farm bill. I mean, Hoover was in the mining business, for crying out loud. There are lots of potential conflicts, but it's all about Donald Trump in this case. I think there are a couple of those things. That's something that the White House is going to have to work out with Democrats, quite honestly. It's between them. And if the CFTC commissioner chair thinks that we're close, it may be something, there may be something that we know, that he knows that we don't know. So I'm still...
Our next tweet comes from Bank XRP. Clarity Act Andrew Cuomo just raised a bigger question than crypto itself. He's asking, should sitting lawmakers be allowed to trade markets they're writing the rules for? His point: politicians see the law coming before anyone else. That's inside information and all but name. Ethics provisions for crypto may need to extend far beyond crypto. Let's watch this video.
Let's not make it a partisan issue. So if it's not, the Senate Democrats that are the biggest obstacle here, what in your view what is the main hurdle that's preventing this legislation from actually making it across the line?
Yeah, it's new, it's different, it raises issues. You're talking about a restructuring of the traditional finance system. And traditional finance players are some of the most powerful people in the country, right? And they want to make sure that the system is protected. So you have powerful concerns on both sides. You don't have the most cooperative Congress and Senate that I have seen, and I've worked with many, and that is an understatement when I say they're not the most cooperative group that we've had. You do have a partisan divide. I am hopeful, and I'm hopeful because the U.S. is getting pushed. You look at what Europe has just done with ESMA and MiCA and KIT. It's good for the industry. It's good for the consumer, because for this financial ecosystem to work, you need two elements. One, you need the product. A company like OKX, Starshoe, he's been at it for 13 years. He has the product. Second, you need trust. Trust comes from government regulation. All these people who say, government regulation is the problem. No, it's not. Government regulation helps the private industry because it provides trust. People want to know they were protected. I was the housing secretary. People wanted to know that when they signed the mortgage, they had protection, that the government had reviewed that mortgage and they were not going to get hurt by a bank. I was the attorney general in New York. People wanted to know when they bought securities that they were protected.
Right.
They want to know now, what are the rules and regulations? And do we have regulators who are watching these companies to make sure the bad actors are eliminated? And Europe has done that. And if the U.S. doesn't move quickly, they are going to get passed by.
Our next tweet comes from Smoke DQG. Swift, Sybos, XRP, and XLM will play a significant role in the flywheel adoption of cryptocurrencies. XRP plus XLM, Swift knows. Listen closely. Let's watch this video.
The front office is automated. There's low latency. Then you switch gears. Banks operate still typically in terms of batch processing, store and forward, and payments, messaging, clearing, and settlement are often decoupled and can take days. This dichotomy is just unsustainable. And in response, we're seeing and hearing at Sybos how a number of FIs and FI-backed consortiums are harnessing blockchain, smart contracts, digital assets to align the performance of banking and payment systems with those of the digital economy. The second takeaway I'd say is that the Internet of Value is beginning to crystallize. And let me start with a framework. Let's think of the old industrial flywheels that take a lot of energy to make a half turn and a full turn. But once they start turning, there's momentum and it's hard to stop them. So let's overlay adoption of blockchain and digital assets. They've proven value. So part of the first turn, feasibility, certainly. And now we're seeing these use cases get into the bottom of that first turn, economic viability. And there's some exciting initiatives we heard about at Cybos around interbank payments, delivery versus payments, for example, correspondent banking, messaging, cross-border, interbank, intrabank, intra-company, and importantly, when we get to the ESG, the S part, remittances. So lots of interesting energy there. And we're seeing cryptocurrencies like XRP, Stellar Lumens, and stablecoins like USDC playing an important role in getting that wheel to turn and deliver the Internet of Value. Also, the introduction of central bank digital currencies will accelerate the mainstreaming of digital assets. I'd say my third, coming to the crown jewel here, cryptocurrencies are gaining legitimacy as a new asset class. When the Bitcoin paper first came out, it was going to be the missing link, the Internet of Value, a medium of exchange. But as we know, Bitcoin failed as a medium of exchange for legal activities. Then the pivot was to blockchain, distributed ledger technology as the new disruptor. Now we're seeing Bitcoin as in the lead as a new digital asset class, which has profound implications. It's been initially driven by retail investors. Now we're seeing institutional investors enter the game. And with institutional investors, you get more sophisticated demand. And that certainly is going to accelerate developments in decentralized finance.
Real quick, if this helped, press the like button. It tells YouTube to show this to people who want the truth, not hype. And press the subscribe button if you're done being sold the moon. I've already got your next one right here. Go!